Count Nefaria, the champion who, if you didn't see my ranking every champion of 2024 video, I put at number 1 of the year. Do I still stand by that? Yeah, I think I probably do. Am I open to my mind being changed? Also, yes, I probably could get my mind changed on that. It all just depends on how these champions progress throughout the game into the next year. But right now, I'm very convinced this guy is absurdly strong. He's obviously rank 3, so I plan on using him all the time. And he is tied to one of my favorite game modes, probably my favorite game mode in MCoC right now, and that is Alliance War. That is his best home, I think. We're going to see a lot of Alliance War content coming from this guy. We are currently in the Decay tactic, where he does have benefit to that tag. However, he's probably going to be banned for a lot of the season, and for good reason, because he is kind of absurd. His passive control of regen and ability power rate is completely absurd, considering you don't need any debuffs or buffs to keep it in check. And his raw damage, when you can utilize his evade properly, is also completely nuts. So we're just going to get into some gameplay here. I have some stuff from various different game modes, starting with Realm of Legends, just to get a basic rotation. And he's pretty simple. You have a currency that you get on your SP1, and then you have a damage that you get from your SP2. So we want to be placing these debuffs, these energy buildup debuffs, on our evade when we evade basics, and when they lose some health or gain some ability power rate, then he's also going to place some of them on the opponent. And then you want to utilize your evade as often as you can get it, that being on basics or on the final hit of the opponent's special attacks. And then you will place an energy vulnerability if it was on the specials, which you really want that energy vulnerability because it multiplies your damage by a lot. Once you go into your Ionic Overcharge, your attacks become both non-contact and energy-based, and all of your damage just skyrockets. So that was Winter Soldier, a champion we can easily get evades from his SP1. And evading specials is very important for Nefaria because of that energy vulnerability, again increasing your damage by a lot. So against Captain Marvel here, we're going to have a much harder time parrying her specials because they are one hit, which is something you're not normally going to have to deal with because I don't remember the last time we had a champ release that had a one-hit special attack. But Nefaria definitely has to deal with it a little bit. There I couldn't get it, and here I think I'm going to get it before this SP2. We're going to go for it right here. Yep, I did barely get it. And then we can place the energy vulnerability, get a nice crit on the end of that SP2, and then that's a 43k medium because we have 2 energy vulnerabilities now, which is multiplying our damage by a lot, and then she goes down in 49 seconds. So you can see that even with class disadvantage, the first fight went better because of mainly the fact that we can evade specials. But now we're going to fight an Enchantress War Boss. This is off-season, so I am not boosted in any way, unless if I was, I would tell you about it, but I'm not boosted for this fight. And there are some interesting ways that Nefaria has the ability to counter Enchantress. First off is just, you can use the counter evade as an intercept, which I really like doing. Basically, you just have to catch the opponent's dash attack with the evade, and then it will count as an intercept. You also have very high energy and physical resist when your Ionic Overcharge passives or whatever, the things on him, as they increase, your energy resistance increases as well. And here we're going to drop the special 1 in a moment. What am I doing here? I'm trying to not miss, but it seems like all she wants to let me do is miss. Luckily, I parried the heavy attack, I think, and then we were able to remove her spells, go for an SP2 here. We are not going to have access to energy vulnerabilities in this fight, more than likely, due to the fact that you can't really counter Enchantress's special 1 very well, and then the SP2 is also very difficult, which I've been able to do at times, but it's not the easiest thing out there. So Beta Heavy, she does let me get the miss, and there she double crits me, which almost killed me. Luckily she didn't combo any further, but again, I did enter at 40% health, so this would not be much of a risk if I had boosted a little more. Go for the knockdown there, and then the intercept there. Gonna go ahead and siphon back some healing, and just look how much health we have now. We're back to 43% just from that 2 SP1s, and now we're gonna get even more, going back to 53. And then every time that her Mystic Dispersion triggers, we're going to prevent a little bit of the ability power rate. Enchantress's ability power rate cannot be reduced below 50%, I believe, so she still is going to gain some of it. But Nefaria is also going to gain a fraction of it as well, which is super cool. And here, we just want to try and kill her now. I somehow ran into the heavy, but did not really hurt me that much. Again, resistances are very high. Here, I let her throw an SP1. She gets the untouchable again, so I'm gonna bait a heavy, which she does not throw immediately. Go ahead and get the intercept there, though, so now I just need to remove the heavy one. Miss, and then I eat the heavy, and that's great. So here I'm just like, charge it, I'm gonna drop my SP2. It's like 3-hit beam, so as long as all 3 of those hits don't miss, then we're kind of chilling, which was a risk I was willing to take. It was very unlikely that it would. And then she's gonna go down with SSB1 here, question mark? No. Oh, yes, basically. We got a crit on the last hit and some red numbers to finish her off. So, there we go. Now we move on to Sauron on node 43. This is Hazard Shift, Incinerate, and Shock. So, Nefaria has increased resistances to that based off of his Ionic Charge. As it gets to 100, I believe, he's going to build up to 90% Incinerate and Shock resistance, and then this goes even higher because of the fact that you're going to be gaining innate energy resist as your charges go up as well, so he just takes like barely any damage from these shocks. The only annoying thing is that this node has insult to injury, so I actually cannot evade pretty much ever, because it is a defensive ability, obviously, so it's going to prevent the evade pretty much every time. So I just have to hit Sauron a bunch. I cannot use my evade basically ever once the fight keeps going on. So we're just going to have to get Ionic charges based off of his health bar, rather than using my evade, because as you can see there, it failed 2 times in a row. That's alright, like, this is still a pretty good matchup. And then we're going to go for an SP1 here, consume a good bit of those Ionic charges, go back into Overcharge. We also have degen resistance based off of his Ionic Charge as well, and all the resistances combined just make it to where Sauron couldn't do that much damage to me when I ate that hit. So, if you haven't noticed already, he has like 1 billion resistances in his kit, and that is probably the strongest thing in Nefaria's kit. That it's just how much he doesn't care about. He does not care about Incinerate, Shock, energy damage for the most part, physical damage for the most part, degeneration damage for the most part. And if you're fighting a Mystic, you don't even care about bleed because you're immune to it. You're immune to bleed versus all champs, but you do suffer a penalty when you suffer a bleed from a non-Mystic, where you will lose some of your Ionic charges. So, definitely not great to use Nefaria for bleed nodes when you're fighting a non-Mystic champion. I wouldn't recommend, but it is an option if you have to. Next up, we're fighting Photon on node 48. This has Conflictor and not Polka Dot. It has Conflictor and Combat Deja Vu prowess. I love using Nefaria for Photon because the energy resist just lets you block her specials just fine. And then you can also evade the last hit, which is going to place the energy vulnerability. And it's literally just this cycle. Conflictor is messing with me a bit because it's going to prevent a lot of my debuffs sometimes. However, we do reduce the power gain from the node by a good bit. And as you can see here, she has so many prowess, it doesn't matter. We're just doing so much damage anyway. And we're preventing so much damage anyway, is what I really should have said. So, go for the SP2 here. And Photon purified the Incinerate because of the node. But I do get an evade there, so We place more energy vulnerabilities, gonna siphon back some healing that way as well. Go for a Dex into a parry to trigger the evade. And then another SP1 is going to give me even more health back. She's in Pure Light now, that's okay. And then this SP2 finishes her off for sure. So Photon on that node is a complete joke for Nefaria. I'm gonna definitely miss that guy when he is basically permanently banned next season. Now next up we're fighting Killmonger on node 45. This is Hazard Shift, Incinerate, Poison, and Stun immunity. Now this fight is going to work very well because of Decay. However, if you do not have the Decay tactic for this fight, it still can work because of the fact that you have the ability to just chill during the poison phase. Because even with your Ionic charges ticking and stuff, Killmonger triggers a lot of ability power rates because of placing debuffs, so you will be able to play it slower if you do need to. As you can see there, we jumped up to 11 of those debuffs really fast, and then we have really easy counters on the SP1s, which are just going to add energy vulnerabilities. So I do genuinely think Killmonger is going to be soloable by this guy even without the Decay tactic. And as you can see, this is just ridiculous. Oh, and also non-contact hits when you're in overcharge, so you don't even suffer reverb damage. That was 40 seconds. 40 seconds, which is completely and utterly busted. So I really like him for Killmonger. I've done that in BGs a couple times. I don't have any BGs fights because the recent metas have not been very good for Nefaria. I guess this current one is pretty good for him with Decay, but I just don't have a lot of time to get some fights in with friendlies right now, and every time I queue up in the off-season mode, they just ban him anyway. So I do apologize for not having a lack of BGs fights. However, I will consider doing a showcase for Nefaria with BG's content only, similar to what I did for Dazzler. It is a video that I will consider making if I find the time to do friendlies with a friend, because I just don't have a lot of time for that, and I just can't handle the fact that he's banned almost every matchup I take anyway. So now we're fighting this Mangog here, and as you see, we just ate an SP2 from him, an unblockable SP2, and lost not even 10% health. Like, I don't even know what the hell that was, but sure, that sounds pretty cool. Evade there into the SP2, and it places a plasma, and then we're reducing his ability power rates by a decent bit too, which is always awesome. I'm going to eat an unblockable SP1 because I honestly didn't realize it was going to be unblockable, kind of forgot about that. That's okay. I'm trying to bait his special too. He doesn't really want to throw it. So I'm like, well, I guess I'm going to go ahead and Relic, get myself back into Overcharge so that I can just tank it. And then I do get the Dex into the block again, so I don't really lose a lot of health. And we're even siphoning some health back via his Sig ability, which is pretty cool. So, anyway, he's almost dead. We just need to get to another SP2, and that's going to basically do the trick. And then we punch him, and he dies. I'm going to be honest with you, I think Nefaria's SP2 is one of my favorite SP2 animations in the game. The amount of sheer power you feel in that final punch is actually insane. Like, I just love that final punch on the SP2 so much. It's got to be one of my favorite animations. I just don't even know why. It's literally just a big punch, but it feels really good to throw off. Now we're fighting Rintrah on node 48, just like against the Photon. So, as a Science Champion, you're usually going to suffer a good bit versus the Conflictor node, and Nefaria still does to an extent because you're going to have less debuffs overall. However, it does show off the fact that he can still manage pretty well even without all of his debuffs all the time, because of the fact that you're placing so many and you're controlling the ability power rate via Ionic Overcharge. You're still vibing pretty much. One thing you're not vibing by is throwing a special attack when Mooman is in the corner and he has 10 plus of his little Eldritch thingies. Because I'm going to be honest, I haven't fought a Rintrah in months and just forgot how to do it. So that happened, but it's okay. We go for an SP1 there. We have a bunch of those energy build-up debuffs. And if I can nail the SP2 evade, that'd be super cool. Seems like I can't do that because I'm bad, but that's okay. We're going to go for an SP1 here, gain some more charges. We're at an SP2 now. Drop it. The Incinerate or Plasma is going to get conflicted. However, it's fine. We're gaming still. And ideally, he drops this SP2 and I actually evade it. So we're going to see if I can. When he dexes and he gains that power gain, it's actually so good for me because of the power I can siphon. And I did the whole thing again where I just don't learn my lesson. So that's cool. I suck sometimes at fighting Rintra. We also trigger Unfazed there, which I haven't talked about in this video yet. It is a genuine weakness for Nefaria. I'm not going to hide that. However, I don't see it as a big enough risk for me to stop using him in BGs or War at all. I would still be playing Nefaria just as much if that mastery did not exist than how much I'm using him now. So I really don't even care that much that Unfazed is there. If it triggers, it triggers. I'm still going to be playing this guy just as much as if the mastery didn't exist. I think it's a stupid mastery and should be deleted from the game by absolutely all means. It should be gone, but that's not going to happen, so I just have to deal with it. Now we're fighting America Chavez on node 13. This also has insult to injury, I believe, so just like the Sauron, our evade is going to be pretty unreliable. And we also... An interesting thing about this fight is that we actually kind of want Chavez to be triggering dimensions because we want her to be gaining some power gain while I'm in overcharge. However, due to the decay tactic placing withers and Chavez removes her own dimensions when she is withered, it makes this fight more annoying. So that kind of sucks, but it is what it is, I guess. Anyway, we did get unfazed, it's whatever. We also have weaknesses on us, it's whatever. I'm going to go for the dex there. It triggered Mystic Dispersion, which gave me a little bit of power, which is nice. And then I SP2 here. 4 weaknesses are still on me. It's whatever. I'll just have to deal with it. They're slowly falling off. The weaknesses and inequity just make this node super annoying to deal with. I did not get an energy vulnerability there, but I do believe I spaced it correctly there. She did trigger on Unstoppable, by the way, but we're still okay. She didn't hit me. I don't think she could have reacted fast enough, considering it was her own special animation, basically, when she got hit. But we go for an evade right around here. I guess it's on the special attack. Do get the evade, places the energy vulnerability, and she is just about dead. Siphon. Actually, don't siphon health because we have a heal block on us. My bad. Whoops, but that's okay. And then we're done with Alliance War fights, so we're going to move on to other fights now. Next up is this Isophene from the last month's EQ. This Isophene, you want to throw a specific special attack that she calls out to you, because then it's going to do extra damage. And it's also got Heavy Baiter Protection, Hurt Locker, and just a bunch of stuff that's not going to matter because she's going to die super, super, super fast. Game froze here. When are we going to actually get the fight? There we go. Okay. She also has a power gain at the start, which is super great. Nefaria loves that. Nefaria absolutely loves ability power rate, if you didn't know. He doesn't need any debuffs or buffs to rely on it. It's super awesome, and I love that. Here, she wants us to drop an SP1. That's annoying, because I want to be dropping an SP2. But I just dropped the SP2 anyway. And, then she drops her special. I eat it, because I'm bad. But we don't take a lot of damage unless it crits. And then, yeah, she's almost dead already. We're really hurting her very much. And then that was a 54k crit on the first hit of that SP2. I've done this fight in literally 20 seconds before. The time I recorded it actually took the longest, because of course that's what was going to happen. But, yeah, that fight's pretty cool. Now we're fighting Gauntlet Terrax, the first of, I believe, 5 Gauntlet fights I'm doing with Nefaria. And this Terrax is stupid. So Terrax's rock field is all energy damage, and Nefaria has a lot of energy resistance. He also likes the fact that Terrax is gaining absurd amount of power, both from Energize and from power from afar. If it's power from afar, he's also going to siphon some of that. You can see the energy buildup debuffs are actually insane. We're going to go for like 4 SP1s within like the first 20 seconds of this fight. There I miss a parry, so I'm like, well, I guess we're going for an SP2 now. That's fine, because it does a bunch of damage. And we don't even have any energy vulnerabilities built up, which we're going to go for. Right when Terrax gets an SP1 here, I'm going to go ahead and parry the final hit. And then we place an energy vulnerability, get rid of those indestructibles real quick, and watch this SP2. If that final hit crit, it would have felt so much better. But I believe here I'm just going to go for heavy spams. Heavy attack is still going to be energy damage, just like all of his other attacks, so it's doing 23k per non-crit. Like, could it crit once, please? I want to see the crit on the heavy. It probably would have done like 60,000 damage or more. So, unfortunate, but that's Gauntlet Terrax in 1 minute and 11 seconds with almost full health, which is completely ridiculous. Like, that's not Absman level, but it's, like, probably up there with, as, like, the second best counter to that fight. So, yeah, that's really fun. And now we're fighting another ability power rate matchup, of course, this time being Dragon Man, who also has very easy to parry special attacks, which are super nice. Nefaria does love that, for the last hit when he can place an energy vulnerability. This has aspect of evolution, so his ability power rate among basically all other base stats are going to go up every time he crosses a bar of power, but we're reducing his power gain by a lot via Ionic Overcharge, which is super cool. There I missed the parry and ate the special, so that kind of sucks, but I believe we're kind of vibing from here. Nice crit on the SP2. No energy vulnerabilities, but we're going to get one right there. No, okay, never mind. I can't parry that. I eat a back-to-back specials from Dragon Man because I'm so great at timing my parries. Okay, that was cool. Anyway, then he throws a cheap light attack and I can't react fast enough to it. This fight's going so well. I finally get an evade properly timed, and then he's going to go for another SP1. Gonna go for the evade. I miss it because, dude, I've never struggled so much at countering Dragon Man's specials. This is embarrassing. So anyway, double SP2, double energy vulnerability into SP2. That was over 100,000 crit. And then evade, place the energy vulnerability, Dragon Man dies right there. Really fun fight. I wish I played that better. But we have some more mystics from the Grandmasters Gauntlet to still go through. Next up is this Sasquatch. This Sasquatch has Power Snack. It also has Life Cycle. Life Cycle means our Plasma is not going to do any damage really, but Nefaria hits so hard on all of his other attacks that it's okay. We don't really need to have that Plasma. A lot of Science Champs are based on damage over time. Nefaria is definitely not one of them, so that's pretty cool. Now we're in Ionic Overcharge early in the fight, and we just want to place those energy vulnerabilities and the Ionic, or the energy buildup debuffs. A lot of game lag here, making it really annoying to block specials, as I got the timing right, but we're still frozen. That's super cool. The Disorient is going to reduce the ability accuracy of my evade, obviously, so that doesn't feel good. Dude, how bad is this going to be? I don't understand. Okay. We're going to go for an SP2 here with very minimal charges. You can't really do the evade and expect to counter Sasquatch's SP1. It kind of has to be the SP2. You just don't have the distance to or timing to make it work right. Here he goes for an SP2. I'm still going to do the evade thing because he's not going to be able to counter me fast enough because it's his own special animation. And then we're just going to keep doing that. Power Snack triggered, doesn't matter. I was early there, that's fine. Evade there, that doesn't really do anything. And then go for an SP1. We have more Ionic charges now. And I want to push this guy to an SP2 to get an energy vulnerability real fast. And light, heavy, and then he goes for the SP2, which is going to place the energy vulnerability. I'm going to drop this with 15 Furies. And then no crits, that's fine. No plasma damage, that's still fine. He's still melting, right? So, those are some nice crits on the lights. And we're down to his Sasquatch phase where he starts regenning. Except that doesn't happen because his ability, right here's regen rate, is lowered so much that he's just self-turning off his regens. Like, he's not going to go for them. So that's pretty cool. Here he goes for an SP2. Energy, nope, don't get the energy vulnerability because I just can't nail these parries. I swear I can nail the parries when I'm playing like any other character. It's like when I know I need to nail them and I mess it up. The relic kills him through the block. That's pretty funny. Alright, so that's the Dragon Man fight, and then the Sasquatch fight. We're going to move to the Mojo fight next. We're actually backtracking. I don't know why I put these in out of order. But this Mojo, if you don't already know, Nefaria takes a lot less damage from degen, so if we get any degen on us, it really doesn't matter. That being said, we also might kill Mojo before he can start doing that, because Nefaria hits very hard, and we have specials that we can easily counter via Mojo's SP1 for the energy vulnerabilities. That's really nice. Yeah, I just love using Nefaria for champions where I can get that parry on the specials. It just makes the fight feel so much stronger, and it's something you should definitely practice if you're going to be a Nefaria player for a lot of matchups where you might be using that evade on the special. So here I'm going to go for the evade into the special 2. No energy vulnerabilities because I didn't time the stuff right, because I'm still bad at that sometimes. However, we're going to get it on his SP1, I believe. When he triggers his power gain, it's almost only benefiting us. As you can see, the degen's doing literally nothing. Okay, it's still doing 130 damage, but that's literally nothing. And then when we have staggers on us, that's willpower healing. So that's pretty cool. I do get the evade there, and then if he drops another special here, then we're going to get another one. And then we're going to go for the SP2 here. Relic and SP2. Do we get a crit? Oh my gosh, that was 113,000 damage. Oh my gosh, dude, it's so good. So, heavy attack to finish him off, 36k, non-crit heavy, very casual. And then, the next Grandmasters Gauntlet fight is going to be against Gauntlet Nick Fury. Nefaria is very good for Nick Fury because once he gets to second life, if you're in the Ionic Overcharge, you might not even need to be in the Ionic Overcharge. I think you do, but either way, he's going to reduce the regen rate by so much, which again is not tied to a debuff or passive on Nick Fury, so he can't remove it like Nick Fury would normally do. You just reduce the regen rate so much that he just doesn't really gain a lot of health. And then I believe he doesn't even get his Fury, because he has to pass like a certain health threshold to get that Fury back. Now he does counter evade, obviously, which does kind of suck. That is only when Nick is below 5 charges. So there I could have evaded. I didn't time it right, because again, I swear I just mess up specials only this bad when I'm playing Nefaria. Got a disorient on me, so he purified. That's really annoying. It made the fight last a lot longer. It's okay. We're going to go for an SP2 here. Probably could have gone for an SP3 as well, which I believe gives me charges and pauses my form. Would have been helpful, but it's okay. Here, we're going to push him over his Fury threshold, and then go for an SP1 here, which is going to make him not unblockable and push him to an SP2. Evade failed, doesn't really matter. We're still hitting, decently hard. Especially once we get these Furies in just a moment. I did get the evade there, which was nice. Push Nick to an SP2. We're also not triggering the Lionheart node because, again, not tied to debuff or passive. It is just via Nefaria being overpowered, which feels pretty nice. Siphon back some healing, and then he goes into the second life, and he's literally at 11%. I go for a heavy there. And then the regen is literally killing him. We get the energy vulnerability, and then he is dead with the heavy attack. So, those are the Grandmasters Gauntlet fights. The last fights in the video are going to be from the Science War Showcase path. I'm going to have them sped up as well. I'm not going to talk about these because they're kind of boring, but if you wanted to see them, I was going to include them anyway. So I'm going to wrap up the video here. I genuinely love Nefaria. He's such a good champion. Super strong. Again, I still think he's probably the best released last year. I hope you agree, and if you enjoy playing Nefaria too, definitely tell me in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe and all the fun YouTube things I'm supposed to tell you. Enjoy the last few fights, and I will see you in the next video.